Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. You are here with us live on Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we are so excited to have you here today. We have the express pleasure of being here on Legacy Tuesday, and so today we're going to talk about building your legacy. I know you've heard me talk about legacy a lot because we are proponents of creating value, building value, and making sure that that value can pass on. And so, with that said, we're going to jump right into our um, uh, slides today because we really want to help you to see this from a different perspective today. All right. So, Jerron, will you roll the slides for us? And by the way, I'm Dr. Patience Jackson Rose, and I am the CEO and founder of, or co-founder, I should say, of Red Worldwide. I am here because of legacy, and so that is a very exciting thing that I can share. My parents were very much proponents of legacy, and all of the things that I have learned, I am now instilling into my adult children and my grandchildren and all of those who are around me because I really believe there's something to it. So when we're talking about building a family legacy, we really want you to know that it's more than just about money or material possessions. Sometimes it comes off feeling like to people that when we start talking about building legacy, leaving legacy, that we only are talking about, getting your finances in order and having something so that you can make a family bank and all of these things. But that's just a part of, apart from, that concept, is the idea that, everything stops with you. And it doesn't, whether you spend time working on building a legacy in your family or leaving something for the next generation or not, you're leaving something. Because when you don't prepare and you don't leave something, that leaves something in its place. And that is emptiness and apathy sometimes or it gives people another view of what they really want to do because they wish that their parents would have done, something, or their, for that matter, their ancestors, period, would have left something more for them. And so it's really about creating shared history, values, and purpose that transcends generations. You want to leave not just the actual funds and things of that nature. You want to leave in place the everything that is necessary so that your generations can have what it is that you intended for them to have. Next slide, please. So the importance of financial planning, okay? We have to be thinking about, that things don't just happen. Somebody has to put together the plan, and it really is about securing the future. Financial planning ensures that your family, your well-being of your family, is cared for in a manner that is sustainable and that's stable. And so you provide peace of mind and stability for future generations when you plan, when you have something that actually gives you the ability to impact generations and you put that in place, even if it's just the plan. I have this interesting, story that I tell about people that I met when I went to Barbados. I've gone to Barbados a few times, and in one of the trips, I was able to speak to people who are actually natives there, and they talked to me about how in one generation they would plan and save and put away the finances for the next generation to actually buy the home, okay? And the next generation to be able to, add on to it if necessary or maintain what it is that's been left for the family for generations. And so sometimes, it takes 2 or 3 generations for them to put in place the significant resources that it it requires in that country for people to be able to have, access to properties. And so it's really interesting, how they have crafted this concept. And I won't say they, meaning everyone, but there were some significant families that I met when I went there, and the second time that I went. And it was very interesting to hear them talk about, what they went through to make sure that by generation three, of their legacy, that there would be something, stable, something that everyone could, take advantage of, some land to be able to grow food, and, a place for, multi-generational living, where, the family could have the grandparents and the second generation and even the great grandbabies in the same home. That was something that was really desired of those families that I spoke with. But also thinking about protecting your assets, there needs to be strategies put in place to safeguard your family's assets, minimizing the risks and maximizing the returns over time. So you want to be looking at, this is a very important process, and the planning itself that goes into, creating opportunities for your family to have the well-being secured. That same planning needs to go into protecting the assets so that they're sustainable. And then of course we want to be able to support the dreams. Financial planning allows you to support your family's vision, such as that for education, travel, or entrepreneurial ventures. That is so, so important. Next slide, please. So when we're thinking about passing on business ownership in our families, this could be a totally different concept, because some people, they're just talking about, when they're looking at what they want to do for their family, they're talking about just being able to create the ability for their families to have wealth that will sustain them, and that they will be able to, like I talked about, have multi-generational living, or to be able to establish for their family something that is, you know, hardy enough financially so that at least children can go to college. And there are ways where, there's enough money for them to take care of their parents and not have to put parents away in a home, of some sort. And so it's very important that when we're looking at it from all angles, because all families are different. Some have, a different vision for what it is that they want to do with their family's resources or in their family's future. However, there are families who are in business, and we just so happens to be here to serve a lot of them. And so when they're talking about passing on business ownership, we've done several series, a few different episodes on co-working. We've had some series that we've done in some of our business classes where we talked about, the importance of having one of the options for your business in your end game as passing on, the family business to the next generation of owners, which could be in your own family. So you got to be able to plan for transition, creating a clear plan for transitioning ownership, outlining roles, responsibilities, and timelines. We've talked about that. And so if you haven't seen it on one of, on our co-working podcast, please go back through and look at it on one of the Legacy Tuesdays, where we talk about what it is that you need to do to plan for transition, because we give you a well thought out plan, how you can take that plan and adapt it for what your family needs. But then we also talk about training the next generation, investing in training and mentorship for the next generation. I had a person whose daughter inherited quite a bit of money, and she was like, okay, I need to leave very good instructions for her so that she has access to the funds, but not in a way that would allow her to harm herself. We need to make sure that she has the right education so she knows what to do with the funds. Yes, we can leave trustees in place. All the money is in a trust, but providing her with any amount of funds, without giving her education could be harmful. And so you need to invest in training and mentorship for the next generation, ensuring that they have those skills and the knowledge, to know what to do, not just with money, but with your business if you're leaving your business. And how, even if they're going to innovate and iterate on top of what you've already done, that they're doing it in a way that shows that they have the information and they have all of the knowledge to put forth, or they have the team to help them put forth the business in a way that will cause it to become more than what it was when it was given to them. Then you got to be able to help them understand about fostering collaboration, because encouraging the communication and collaboration between generations is so key when you're talking about passing on the business ownership. So many times people get stuck in that succession process because somebody in the family is not communicating well. And so there's a hard stop at a lot of places, in the communication, because of the fact that people within the generations are not able to share and allow others to share in the conversation about what should happen with the business. There needs to be a strong foundation that's built, in this area of collaboration. And sometimes, it may bring in, you may need to bring in a third party to help you with that process, because I have been a part of a process where people were very, very stuck in what they felt like should happen, and they didn't want to hear anything from anyone else about the possibilities, and there are many times when information changes. We talked about this just recently, where we talked about, because of some things that happened during the pandemic and what was required once to be able to do the type of business that you might have been doing may have changed, just because the laws have changed, or because the landscape of business has changed, or the competition changed, or for that matter, the amount of money people have to spend in that arena where you are may have changed. And so based on that, being able to collaborate with the people in your family, and to understand how things need to possibly be done moving forward could really be a benefit and not a detriment, so getting a little skills could be important so that you could foster collaboration. Next slide, please. So how do we encourage the next generation? What do we do? Well, we start by listening to their dreams. I mean, it becomes super important to me to be able to open up times with, my daughters and talk to them, about what it is that I'm doing, and to get them to weigh in on what I'm doing, because understanding from their point of view sometimes gives me a different a different way of seeing even my own vision. They give me back based on what I gave them, a different perspective of what it is that I thought I was doing or that I wanted to do, and in that I'm able to sometimes see a way forward when I may have seen a barrier before, or I may see other ways of serving people, based on what it is that they've been teaching me and showing me. But then you also have to, beside the point of listening to their dreams, because I've heard each one of my daughters talk to me about what it is that they want to do in their future, and I've tried to weigh in as much as possible, financially and otherwise, to help them get that dream, to market, okay? Because I believe in it, and I believe in them, and I believe in the God of the universe that made them. So I want to do my part to make sure that what it is that they're doing lives, okay? And it's living inside of them, it's breathing inside of them, but I need to get it out of them and into the earth realm and into the market. So with that said, listening to their dreams is the first step. But then I've got to be able to empower them, even if they're not leading in my company. Even if they haven't decided that they wanted to join forces with me on any one of my ventures, I still need to empower them to lead on their own by weighing into their own situations and helping them to feel released to do what it is that they have been dreaming about. Sometimes when parents are entrepreneurs and their kids are entrepreneurs and it doesn't appear that the children want to, participate in what it is that they're doing, they downcast or downgrade or discount their the ideas of their kids. And I have seen it, and with great disdain, I have really come out against that, because I feel like it is awful for you to try to pressure your children into joining you in the family business. If their vision is taking them in a different direction and they may not ever come back your direction to help you, that does not mean that what it is that they're going to do is going to flop, or for that matter, shouldn't be done. It means that if they are passionate about it and they're moving in that direction, you need to weigh in on their situation and not just be looking for them to come and serve in yours. So providing opportunities for them to take on leadership roles when they're younger really does give them the ability to lead generally. And at some point, when they have the ability to contribute their unique perspectives, you will find that a lot of the time those perspectives that come are valuable key tools that you'll be able to use, whether or not you're using them with them in your company or using them at all. Okay. In your company without them. So understanding that, there are many times where I have pulled on my wonderful daughters to give me context or to add, to something that I'm doing. I will never forget, on FaceTime one time, we had a whole session with them helping me redesign a logo for one of my companies, and to help me come up with color choices that were going to make sense. I have a couple of daughters in graphic design and marketing and social media marketing and in production. And so between those three, I was able to snatch out of them, what made sense for what I was doing. When I launched my most recent app, I sent it out to them. Hey, I need you to do this. This is the alpha stage. Play with it. Tell me what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like. Give me the feedback. Okay, I need to have your voice first. You are my first focus group, and then I'm going to go to others. And so it really did give me what I needed to have in that moment, so that I would be able to know, how do I push this thing forward to others so that it could benefit them. But on the same token, I have also been the beneficiary of them coming saying, hey, you need me to work? I've got a few hours. Where can I plug in to help you in one of your companies? And that has been some of the most valuable time that I have ever experienced. Now, ultimately, are they going to take over any of these companies? I don't know. But what I do know is that at this point, because I've listened to their dreams and I've empowered them to lead, I've made them feel valued in my company. I have come to a place of where I've been able to weigh in on their companies, the ones that have companies, because 3 of them do at this point. I am, feeling the power of the synergy that happens between the generations when you're able to do this. And you can also learn a lot in these moments, because again, you don't know what's coming in the future. You just know that right now it's important for you to open the door and allow them to understand that, hey, the possibilities do exist. I know that I'm not going to be here forever. And, the doors are opening. And before I make this offer to anyone else, because I've learned my lesson, I made an offer to someone and the kids were like, you didn't offer it to us first. They were like, oops, okay. But before we do that in the future, we're going to make sure that, the opportunities are put out there in a way that they feel comfortable, coming in and saying, hey, I want to take part. Creating meaningful experiences are very, very important. You want to make sure that like I said, you give opportunities for people to be involved, the family members to be involved in your company, if that is something that you can do. And if there's, any type of philanthropic initiative that you're doing where you're raising money for something, my wonderful kids have been able to participate. And I talk about them and their participation when they were really young, and how we actually, gave out Christmas presents to children who had never received, presents before, or were currently homeless or at risk of being homeless. And even now, I get excited because one of our daughters is, every year she has a toy drive, and so she's preparing right now for her coming toy drive. She's doing it through organizations that she's worked with. And now she has her own nonprofit. And so she's going to be doing it through her own organization, which is amazing. I just know that started somewhere. It was a seed that was placed in her. So these wonderful community projects and, the ability to volunteer, taking your kids with you to volunteer somewhere to help someone else get those things, they embed a kind of culture of purpose and responsibility, social responsibility, inside of your children, who become adults, who then have children and embed those same principles inside of their kids. So it's very important that you engage them, and you do it through a process. Okay. Next slide, please. So how do you preserve family values? Well, first of all, you got to define the core values. Every family is different, every team is different. And so you have to identify the values that have shaped your family, such as honesty, integrity, compassion. There are certain things that adversity even has brought to your family that have created some values. I was speaking with one of our daughters yesterday, and we were talking about some very hard times that we had, some situations that, when we look back on it, it didn't feel very good at the time. But those things that we experienced have shaped within our family the capacity for us to, see someone else in pain and see someone else that is going through something, and not allow them to go through that by themselves. We have to weigh in. We have this feeling of, compassion that just pours out of us. And it does so at the most, sometimes for ourselves, it may feel like most inopportune times, but at the meat, at the meat of it all, at the core of it all, we've got to look at the fact that, we are designed this way, and when we go through something and we experience adversity, we come out of it stronger, and we come out of it with a desire to help someone else that might get into those same situations in the future. Share stories and traditions. We have to be able to, first of all, create sometimes traditions, but passing on the family stories and those moments in time that have shaped um, your your culture in your family is very, very important. Helping people to understand the family jokes, okay? Because sometimes family members may not have been as close, and everybody's laughing about something and they don't know what it is. So it's really important for you to be inclusive in that, to create a sense of belonging and shared history, even if some of the children or grandchildren were not old enough to experience the thing. Bring them in, share the story, help them to understand why it's funny, okay, or why it's important, or why it was such a tragic situation, so that they can understand the response to it, how we engage, how we grew closer, or even why we do some of the things the way that we do them, and then fostering open communication. Again, communication is key, and encouraging people to be open and honest, and not feeling, stifled, or for that matter, restricted from having discussions about things that are really, really important. It's really important that we foster understanding and respect in our families. and regard for all people in our families, not leaving anyone out. And that's very, very important. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about philanthropy and giving back. We've got to be able to identify some causes, and if you're going to have this as a shared family value or a shared family activity, you've got to be able to choose causes that align with the family's values and passions, and that will make a meaningful impact. I remember when my two younger daughters were, in their teen years, and they used to put together boxes to send to children in Colombia. And that was so important to me, to see them doing it, number one, and to see what I can do to help. Well, is there some way that I can, assist? I didn't want to take away any part of what they were doing, but I did want to help them to be able to do it at the highest level if I could. And so some of that is really important, because sometimes our children feel like we're trying to compete with them. And it's important when you're building legacy that you leave room for all of the people who are involved in the legacy to have some input. So, you want to look at what is our family value system, how is it designed, and what is our passion, what is our goal or our mission, and how are we going to make meaningful impact, and what part can everyone play? And there is a part that every child can play, down to the very littlest one. You just need to, be very creative in seeing how you can make that happen. And then involve them in the conversation, but also involve them in the entire process. If you are able to pass on or delegate authority to someone who is younger and give them the support that they need so that they can carry out the task, but allow them to do it, you have no idea what that's going to do for their leadership skills. So make sure that you foster the sense of responsibility and, the shared purpose amongst the group, but, don't single anybody else out by not allowing them to participate, because it may be that it seems that they're too young, or they're not savvy enough, or you don't think that they have enough follow through. Pair them together, put them in teams, do whatever you need to do so that everyone gets an opportunity to participate. And then create that legacy of giving, by establishing maybe a family foundation or some kind of association or some type of giving program, or putting the monies together with the group. Even if you're not going to do an entire 501c3, at least put your funds together in a group way and say, okay, we're going to all give to this cause. Okay, because I think that what that does is that begins a process of ensuring that generosity continues from generation to generation. If this generation is just able to establish the trust, and the next generation is able to build equity in the trust by getting people to donate or doing something to raise funds, so that that trust has the ability to have meaningful impact in the next generation, you've done amazing work. Okay, so try to create a culture of philanthropy and a process of giving back that is meaningful to your kids and your kids' kids, so that you have the ability to understand how your legacy will be enduring. Okay, it will endure. Next slide, please. So, how do you communicate the vision? What is it that you need to do to actually make sure that children understand, and that teenagers and even your adults, if you're just now starting and all of your children are now adults with their own children, you can still communicate your vision. And so one way of doing that is just being clear and concise. Clearly articulate what it is that you would like to see for the family legacy. Now, they may not buy into it. They may not, initially see it as important, but keep communicating. Use simple language and specific examples. Hey guys, I want to do this. I know that you guys have heard me say this before, but I really want to make a valid attempt at it this year. I'd like us to do something meaningful. Can we get together and do this? Okay. All right. I'm setting a date. We're going to do it on this day. I need everybody to give me $5. Okay. Or whatever it is, and then engage in open dialogue, create opportunities so that you can have, a conversation, a family meeting, a Zoom meeting, as something so that everybody can participate and encourage questions. Hey, if you have questions about it, I want to know. Don't, position yourself so that you have everyone feeling like you already have all the answers and you've already made up your mind what you're going to do. And, you just wanted everybody to weigh in financially. No, this needs to be a legacy that has been built internally, and it needs to actually incorporate all generations. So encourage the questions from all generations and create shared understanding, between the generations. See it the way they see it. Allow people to explain what they're seeing so that everybody can, come in together to understand what is trying to be communicated. Create some way of memorializing or documenting the plans. I used to have a family journal and we lost it. I hate that we lost it. This was way before the iPad, because it would have all been in the iPad. But, at that time it was in a journal, but we had some plans. There were some visions and some goals in there and strategies. And I talked about the personalities of each child. I had what their names meant in there. And it was just such a well thought out, planned set of information. And so since then, we've done a few other things. My husband and I have done some trusts. And so now we're going to start bringing some things, together with our other family members so that everybody can weigh in and participate. But I am saying I want to encourage you to do the same. Document your plans at first as your kids are younger. Start talking to them about it as they see you bringing out your little journal to talk about the family's plans and the family's history and the family's goals. It really does make sense for you to be able to do it. Make some graphics, get on Canva or Adobe Express and create some little slides or spreadsheets or something that can go into the plan so that everybody can see, how it's going to play out, and come up with something that is consistent so that maybe you're just doing it when you have the family gatherings. I don't know if you're meeting at Thanksgiving or if you guys have your own type of gathering that you're doing, Sunday dinners, whatever it is, but bring it out and, continue to allow people to share and to add to it, to iterate on top of your ideas. Because the thing that you need to understand is that creating, having a vision is one thing, but creating a pathway for the vision to come to pass is a whole different thing. And when others are involved in it, it's amazing to see how they will begin to help to bring things into fruition. And so I wanted to just share that because I think it's important for you to understand how that works. Okay. It really does work when you are documenting and everyone knows that you're documenting. Maybe you make, a new person every year the keeper of the documents, and you just pass it around. And now that we have computers and phones and tablets, it's pretty easy to do. We can actually put it all, if we're in the Apple ecosystem, we can put it all in free form or in some type of a mind map, and everybody gets to, add to it accordingly. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So when we talk about leaving a lasting impact, I really want you to understand get a vision for what that could mean. The first thing I want you to think about is the fact that when you impact someone, it doesn't just stop there. I mean, if I were to blow that mountain up, there are certain parts of that mountain that are not going to be there any longer. So something has changed. It has left a lasting, indelible impression, and that mountain is changed forever. When you make an impact on someone that is lasting, they're changed forever. So you have to do that through things that make sense. The first thing you want to be thinking about is that you can strengthen family bonds. Create a legacy that strengthens the family connection and fosters a sense of belonging for generations to come. And there are ways that you can do that. And then you also can make a positive difference. I am so enamored with the process of, many Jewish families, and how on, the night before Sabbath, how the father will speak certain things, positive, powerful things in the ears of their children, to leave inside of them something that actually speaks to who they are and what they will become, and so I have adapted, that process. I do it a little bit differently, but it's powerful in the way that I do it. Your family has to create your own, a way that actually is going to stick and stay, because not everybody responds to the same things. And based on your family unit and your team, you've got to be thinking about what your children and your grandchildren will respond to. But I am saying that there are some ways that are very powerful, and that can, and we might even do a session on that, ways that you can weigh in, okay, on your family members that will leave a lasting impression and make a positive difference, even though sometimes you might be going through very negative or frustrating, circumstances, challenging times, but you got to be able to create a sustainable future. This is really important, because if you're building a legacy, you want to make sure that it doesn't die with you. Okay, you have to build a legacy that will, thrive without you, that will live beyond you, that will endure for generations. And it ensures that your family has, as I say here, a brighter future for all. Well, this has been Dr. Patience Jackson Rose, and today we have on Legacy Tuesday talked about how to build a lasting family legacy. I really look forward to seeing you again next time.